Joining me on the Mercedes-Benz Vans phone line is the general manager of the Las Vegas Raiders, who's getting ready to take on the Baltimore Ravens on Monday Night Football in their beautiful new stadium with fans in it for the first time. Mike Mayock back here in the Rich Eisen Show. How are you, Michael?
Rich, I only caught the end of that, but is it true that you were responsible for getting Watt signed to the Steelers?
Well, there may be other moving parts.
I mean, he's taking credit, Mike.
Maybe other moving parts. But what I'm saying is I counseled here from this position that their position that they don't do business a certain way, they should make an exception for somebody like Watt. And if anybody comes around and says, yeah, you did it for TJ, you just simply say, yeah, you're not TJ. And it looks like they did that. So that's my only conclusion I could make, is that they heard me. Mike.
I think they probably did, Rich.
Thank you, Mike. You know, I'm just look for affirmation. That's all you know. That's what I walk around looking for affirmation from people.
Right.
But I am curious how a deal like that lands in the lap of another general manager in the NFL, and what you think of that now that clearly a bar has been raised in a way for others. What do you make of that deal, Mike?
You know, I'm always intrigued, Rich, by how other teams do business, because they're really 32 separate footprints. Everybody does it a little bit different. We all have different thoughts about how far to carry guarantees out. I'm less intrigued by the numbers, even though they're big numbers, and more just intrigued that they were flexible enough to change a policy they had, which is kind of what you highlighted. And I'm always trying to figure out which way this league's going, and what I think agents look at it just like we do. What's becoming more and more acceptable? Where are the guarantees going? Where are the percentages going? So I'm just always intrigued by these deals to kind of learn the details about how ultimately the deal got done.
But is that the way sometimes things go, where an agent calls up and says you did something for somebody else, and you're going, yeah, well, I like your guy, but he's not the guy that you're referring to, right? Is that the way it works, Mike?
I think in any industry, when precedents are set, certain people are going to want to use that precedent to their advantage.
And it's your job to basically press your case as well on the other side.
You've got to push back, but you also have to take the human being into account.
Right. So what is on your table, on your inbox now that we're ready to play football? What is your job? What does your gig entail right now, Mike?
Well, I'm kind of anxious to get on the road a little bit, Rich. And you know me, I like smelling the grass.
Yes.
And, once you get through final cuts and you make some adjustments to that 53, et cetera, and you're heading into the roster, I think what I learned when I was at NFL Network was that all 32 GMs kind of had their own way of doing business during the season. Ozzie Newsome, a guy who I loved, Ozzie believed in being in the building 365 days a year. Know your team better than anybody else's team. Kevin Colbert, an awesome general manager, always loved being out on the road, and he felt like he had to see the players personally. And, everybody's got their own reason for doing things. I like to get out there and see it. So I'm going to get out to a game tomorrow. Next week when we go to Pittsburgh, on the way there, I'll get a chance to see another game. I'll get to some practice. So basically, as the season progresses, what I try to do is balance being in the building with John and staying on top of our roster with getting out there and seeing some of my area scouts and seeing some of the players in each area.
What game are you going to tomorrow? Who are you seeing?
I'm going to see Texas A&M at Colorado.
Ooh, okay. I love it. And then you just go there. And so do you have guys that you're thinking of, who you're already in mind? Like, how do you approach something like that before you do that, before you then obviously head home for your game on Monday?
Yeah, I'll look at our scouts reports, which will take me in the right direction of who the guys to watch are during the game. And I probably did 4 or 5 hours of work on guys, this week that are in that game. So at least I'd have a preview of what they looked like a year ago. And then I'll be down on the field pregame, kind of getting the body types and my notes pregame. And then there'll be a few guys that I'll focus on with the binoculars from the press box.
What do you think of the realignment going on, right, with Oklahoma, Texas going to the SEC? How do you think this constant shifting? There's now a historic alliance between three conferences. How do you think that's going to affect talent evaluation or the caliber of players that are going to come to the next level? Mike, do you think anything on this front or what?
I don't think I'm smart enough to think anything about that right now.
Okay.
my brain cells are limited, and I gotta
okay.
I kind of have to be geared a certain way. And Rich, there's seminal change right now in college sports in general.
Right.
From paying the players to the realignments, and I think the rich get richer, and the number of conferences get smaller, and I think there are an awful lot of different ways to look at both those issues, and again, I think it's just going to shake out over time.
Mike Mayock here, Las Vegas general manager, right here on the Rich Eisen Show. Raiders and Ravens on Monday Night Football coming up. So, how has Gus Bradley's arrival helped shape your roster in a way, and some of the moves that we've been seeing over the last couple of days and weeks and months as well, Mike?
Well, first of all, Gus embraces communication, both amongst his coaches, the players, and me. And, he walked in the door, and we've got a pretty good feel for what he prefers by position, body types, what they look like, how they move, what they look like, what they smell like. He's very specific, and that helps us evaluate players. The communication skills that he displays and the leadership skills, I think, are top level. And I think anytime you get a guy like that at any position in your building, it's helpful. So he's been great to work with on a bunch of different levels. And I think the players have responded to his approach. And the goal, on Monday night is to play fast and keep it simple.
So how different will it look? I mean, what can you tell your fans who are hoping that the Raiders defense shows up in a manner that is a little bit more stout, and something you've even referred to needing improvement? How do you think that's going to look? What can you tell them?
We weren't very good last year, and we obviously need to get better. And I think anytime you're talking about getting better in the NFL, it's a combination of talent and coaching. And there's no real ratio. It's just you need better players, and you need to coach them up. And so we made a concerted effort to get better on defense, both in free agency and the draft. I think Gus has done a great job of galvanizing that group of men. And to be really honest, I mean, we've got some guys that have done it individually at the NFL level, but I'm really anxious to watch how we play collectively against one of the benchmark teams in this league, the Baltimore Ravens.
How big a year is this for Abram, Mike? Walk me through this kid who you had such great regard for, using one of your multiple first-round picks on a couple years ago, and he's been banged up. How big is this a year for him and his evaluation and his career?
It's Mike? A big year for him. It's a big year for a lot of our guys. But, I mean, for John specifically, I think he's got to show two things. Number one, that he can stay healthy, and number two, that he can play at a high level consistently. And those are his two challenges. Okay.
And then how's the general health of your team going into the season? Would you say?
Knock on wood, we feel pretty good. Every team in the league is dealing with issues right now, and all we can control is what we can control.
Okay. And how's Jacobs? Is he healthy? Is he ready to roll? In particular,
I think he'll be fine. I mean, Josh is one of the toughest kids on our team, and we just think the sky's the limit for Josh Jacobs.
What's the challenge for this team against the Ravens on Monday night? The matchup, the X's and O's here that you're looking forward to playing out on Monday night here for you, Mike?
I don't know. I mean, on offense, obviously, Rich, I think a storyline for us, it's less Raven intensive and more, how are we going to look up front with our revamped offensive line? How are our wide receivers going to respond, our young wideouts? And on defense, can we affect the quarterback? And if you're talking about the Ravens, can we stop the run? I mean, they've had an awful lot of injuries recently at the running back position specifically, but number 8 still available. So when number 8's on the field, there's a big play waiting to happen.
How are you enjoying being a GM, Mike? I mean, I know it's been a couple of years now. How you like it? You enjoy it? This is what you envisioned, everything?
Well, I'm enjoying it a lot more this year now that I'm more like a GM than I was last year when I was a COVID manager. But if we don't win more games, I'm probably going to be back there sitting next to you.
Well, first of all,
I'm not big on the elephant in the room, Rich.
I know. Well, there is that elephant, and that's kind of why I'm like asking if you're enjoying it, because there's so much talk about you and Gruden and the decisions and the making of the roster and some of the decisions that were recently made. Is there anything you want to address on that front, since the elephant is sitting right there, Mike?
Rich, I'm 63, and I'm pretty pragmatic, and I knew what I was getting into. I've been a football person my whole life, and at the end of the day, you either win enough games or you don't. And I think we're getting to, for me, I think we're getting to a critical juncture. We got to win some games.
And it starts with Monday Night Football against the Baltimore Ravens right here on Westwood One. And Mike, I don't know if you saw, we opened the new studio for NFL Network. You wouldn't believe it. If I know you're going to have a game in SoFi, you should just come next door and just take a look for a minute. It's unbelievable.
I've heard that. We played the Rams preseason, and people were kind of buzzing about it because you were almost done construction at that point.
Right. It's incredible, Mike. Honestly, you would not believe it. And a lot of it is due to some considerable hard work by all the people that you've known for a very long time. And it includes you. So you should please stop by and check it out. It really is. It's been a long time since you nailed Aaron Rodgers dropping all the way down to 24th overall when we were talking on NFL Total Access in 2004 to today. It's crazy.
Well, I would imagine that it's probably not going to reduce the amount of time you spend talking about quarterbacks, regardless of the digs.
Well, Mike, I will tell you this. Hold on a second. The Rich Eisen Show got into the name, image, and likeness business with a partner, Gorilla Glue, and we're giving name, image, and likeness deals to guys in the trenches and people who make tackles. And and if it's a quarterback, it's going to be somebody that at a school that's not expecting the money and the attention, because that's what we do here.
That's
we're punters.
Pretty cool, Rich. You're
punters.
Always about giving back.
Mike, you take care of yourself. We'll chat again soon, okay? Appreciate the time.
Talk to you soon.
Yeah, it's Mike Mayock, the general manager of the Las Vegas Raiders, right here on the Rich Eisen Show. Hey, you watched all the way to the end. Thanks for that. Watch more right here.